Hi guys, and welcome to another Rift Abyss video, and today we will be featuring a guide for the Rogue class Bard. So I'll be going over where to put all of your soul tree points, your abilities and the macros, and then the rotations during fights. So as you can see, we've got 61 points in Bard, so every single point goes into there. Then we have 10 points in Marksman with 5 in Keen Eye and 5 in Increased Power. And then we have 5 points in Rift Stalker in Unseen Fury. For the level 60 to 65 masteries, we also have Planar Replenishment, Ascended Biology, Boundless Energy, Timed Focus, and Planar Variation. So that's all of the soul tree points, and now I'll move on to your abilities. Okay, so I'll just go through every single ability that I believe is useful and the ones that I have on my bar. So to start with, we've got Planar Variation, which restores health to the ally equal to 50% of the rogue's max health each second, or the other part of it, if you target an enemy, it deals a certain amount of damage every second for 3 seconds to the target and up to 7 other enemies. Then we have a macro, which I'll go over in a moment, and then we have 6 coders: Coda of Wrath, Coda of Fury, Coda of Restoration, Coda of Jeopardy, Coda of Cowardice, and Coda of Distress. We also have some other abilities that are quite handy: Verse of Occlusion, which places a shield on all party or raid members. Then we have Verse of Vitality, which restores a small amount of health up to 5 party or raid members. Virtucio, which causes combo points to persist when using coders. So basically, if you use this ability, say you had 5 combo points, you hit this ability, then you can just keep on using your finishers for 15 seconds, as you won't lose any combo points. And then we have Verse of Purity, which is just a cleanse basically. Then we have 3 coders that we can use: Motive of Bravery, sorry, not coders, yeah, I meant motives. Motive of Bravery, Motive of Tenacity, and Motive of Regeneration. Now it's really important that you always keep these on during the fight, but if you do your rotation correctly, it should always be on, which I'll show you later. We then have Verse of Joy, which is like a buff for 15 seconds on all party and raid members, and then another big buff is Orchestra of the Plains, which basically increases everyone's damage, heals them for a bit, and also damages the enemies. Then we have our buffs, and we have a couple of anthems which you can use. We have out of combat move speed, which isn't that great, but you may find a use for it somewhere. The main one though is Anthem of Glory, which increases the raid's armor and all resists. Then we have Anthem of Fervor, which is also pretty good. It reduces ability cost by 5%, so if you don't have another support using a similar ability to this, then make sure that you have it on. So this is just something that you'll need to clarify with your raid. Then we have a self buff, which is Planebound Resilience, just to increase endurance. Another endurance buff, Fanfare of Vigor. And then Fanfare of Power, which increases strength, dexterity, intelligence and wisdom on all party members. And then we have one more self buff, Multiple Oscillations. So on single target packs, you want to make sure that this is off, and then when you've got a group of mobs, you want to be doing AoE damage, so you just make sure that you have this buff on. So I'll now just show you the macro. It's a pretty simple macro and it's very good, so I'll make sure that I put this in the description below. But basically it casts Riff, Verse of Agony, Power Chord, and then Cadenza, and I believe this is probably the most effective way of laying it out to get your combo points, so I have that on my number 2 button. Okay, so now on to the actual fights and what you'll be doing during the fights. So we have Planar Variation. Now if you can see that your tank is getting really low and it looks like the healers are struggling, you can quickly use this to bring them straight back up to full HP. This also includes any DPSs that you see. If they get down to low HP and you see that they're not being healed, you just quickly target them and then use Planar Variation. So as I said with the macro, there's 4 abilities in it. This is going to be your main ability, or sorry, main thing to use. So when you start the fight, you want to make sure that you use this twice, to use Riff and Verse of Agony, which will get all of your motifs up. So technically you shouldn't have to cast these before the fight starts. You just spam this macro a couple of times, you'll have 5 combo points and it will activate all of your motifs. So that's very handy to do. Then we have your 6 coders. Now I'll just go over these individually and I'll tell you when to use these. So you have Coda of Wrath, which just deals simple single target DPS. So you want to use this when you've used all of your other coders, which I'll explain in one moment. Then we have Coda of Fury, which deals AoE damage. So if there's a group of mobs, you use this one. Then we have Coda of Restoration, which if you want to do a lot more healing, if your healers are struggling, then you need to use this so that you restore health on all of your party members. Coda of Jeopardy, which causes the enemy to take additional damage, and each attacker may trigger this once every 3 seconds, so that you always want to make sure that you have this buff active. Then we have Coda of Cowardice, increases physical damage taken by 5% for a duration, so 60 seconds. You always want to try and get up to those 5 points and use this. And then Coda of Distress increases non-physical damage taken by 7%. Again, you want this to last for 60 seconds. So these 3 here, Jeopardy, Cowardice and Distress, you want to make sure that you always have these debuffs on the boss. And then I'll quickly go over it again. Coda of Wrath for single target DPS, Coda of Fury for AoE, and then Coda of Restoration when you want to do those heals. We then also have the combat buffs. You want to use these 2 here, so Verse of Joy and Orchestra of the Plains. You want to try and use them when there's sort of big things happening, so when you need to nuke down a certain part of the boss, you need to make sure that you have them up. Then we have just a couple of extra ones. Verse of Occlusion, so if you want to put a shield on everyone, so if you know that a boss mechanic is going to take everyone down by a bit, you want to be able to shield them all, so you use this one. If you can see that everyone's going down low and you want to help out the healers, you can use Verse of Vitality. Then we have, again, I explained Virtuosio earlier, I just quickly go over it. It just causes combo points not to be used if you use a coda, so I suggest that you use this at the start of a fight so that you can get out all 3 of these, so that you can debuff the boss, and then you can just go into spamming the other ones depending on what the fight is. And then if your raid ever needs a cleanse, you can use this. And that's it for today's guide. If you did enjoy, or if this has helped you out in any way at all, please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Again, I will be streaming pretty much 24/7 whenever I am online on Rift, so make sure you check out for that on Rogues Abyss at Twitch. So thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll see some of you later.